Okie dokie, here we go. Hello, everybody. So, one of the things that happens when you suddenly find yourself unemployed is you start dicking around and making YouTube videos about the stuff that you're doing, whether or not it's something or nothing. About 4 months or so ago, I did one of these things where I posted something called What the Hell Am I Doing? And I thought, you know what? One of the really good things is to try and get myself into a bit of a pattern. So I thought I would kind of pick this up again and see where this happens. At the very least, it's kind of like a little, video journal to myself of what it is that I'm working on and should be doing and everything else like this. So anyways, anyone who's watching and giving a shit, hello. So yeah, let me give everybody an update on what's going on. So about a week and a half ago, I officially became unemployed. I am no longer at Calabuki Peaks doing graphic design or social media specialization. And I have to admit, not being part of the social media aspect anymore is actually kind of nice. And it was one of those things where I was initially starting to get a little concerned. There's always that uncertainty, and it's also when it's not in your control. When you leave a job and it's not in your control, like in this particular case, basically there just wasn't enough work to do. They had actually started to offset their marketing to a completely different company that's doing a great job, very professional. I remember we had spoken with them a couple years before. They have access to tools that we just didn't. So, like no harm, no foul, that so to speak. And it just got to the point where there was nothing to do, and there was nothing else there that I was qualified, capable, or even willing to do. It gets to a point when you're in your 40s where you really want to focus on a career and not just a job. And you know what? Yeah, I'm realizing, Eric, if you're watching this, yeah, it looks like I owe you guys the shirt back. Okay, so yeah, so it was kind of one of those things where it happened, it was done, it was very amicable under the circumstances, and it was one of those things where I thought, okay, well, I'll be doing some serious job hunting and try and find something, maybe kind of relax a little bit in December, but otherwise, just chill, and just kind of, see where things take me. Well, things have already taken a very interesting turn in the freelancing direction. At this point in time, I don't know if I can actually say who the publisher is, but needless to say is that on the third day after I was officially unemployed, I received an email from a publisher of a somewhat, I would say it's a fairly well-known game, especially too if you're in the OSR movement, who got a hold of me and needed a designer to do layout on 2 books. That is the equivalent of about 250,000 words, and it needs to be done by next month. The funny thing about it is that I had actually initially been in touch with this publisher back in September, and then things just didn't happen. I figured they had found somebody else. Once again, no harm, no foul. That's going to be, I think, the title for this particular video. No harm, no foul. And if he had actually gotten in touch with me in September and said, this is what I need, and I need it pronto, I would not have been able to do it. And the funny thing is now, I totally can do it. I totally have the time to invest into this kind of thing. And what's funny is that once it converts to Canadian currency, it's actually going to be paying me more than if I had been working at the Peaks for another month. So that's really interesting. There's a couple of other leads that I'm waiting to hear back on as far as freelancing goes. So at this point, technically, yes, I'm unemployed, but my mind is treating this like I'm starting a freelance career and seeing where this goes. So last week was kind of wrapping my head and getting myself into this kind of mindset of this new way of life, and adapting to the fact that working from home, especially to, like my family is also still home. So occasionally you might hear my son freak out or cry or laugh or some kind of thing like this. And, kind of having to teach myself to actually ignore that part, shut off the parent part of my brain and, continue focusing on until I'm called or any of this other kind of stuff. So, anyways, yeah, that's really taken a really interesting turn, and I'm really curious to see where this goes. So, I do have a online portfolio set up. So, if you are interested and want to take a look at it, it's toddcrapper.wordpress.com. And one of the things that it includes on there is the work that I just recently did on the Lost Hall of Tyr for Gaming Ballistic, which is Doug Cole's company. He's a fellow IGDN member. And that was actually really cool. I was really happy with how that turned out. So if you're one of the backers, I think you're going to be very pleased with the print copy. I'm really eager to see mine when it comes in next month. And it's something that I'm hoping that he and I will be able to work on something else again, because yeah, it was a really good experience. I'm really proud how that one came out. So, but one of the other things obviously that I'm doing is I've got some High Plains Samurai. So the text is the text for High Plains Samurai Legends. That is basically the one-shot convention / short story version of High Plains Samurai that is going to be releasing in March. The text is done. It's edited. It's been proofed. It's ready to go. And I'm working on getting that layout set and done. You know, everything's set up and done. I just need to basically drop in the text, mess around with the style, start adding in the artwork. And that's something that I'm hoping to get a large chunk of that done today before I have some additional play testing. Just want to do some last minute tweaking on the vitality mechanic as far as Legends is concerned. And then moving into January into March, we're then going to be testing how that's going to play out on a campaign mode for the core rulebook. And just making sure the characters are still able to progress. Doesn't mean that they're always guaranteed to progress, because it's this kind of HP / XP hybrid where basically you spend your hit points to do a lot of the things, the extra special stuff that comes in the game, the cheat, so to speak. And if you conserve and you hold on to it, you roll with the punches and you allow yourself to become complicated, you have a greater chance of actually being able to learn from those experiences and then become more powerful. So I just need to check and make sure that overall as a whole it actually does work. And when the opportunity is there, characters are able to progress. That's something I'm going to do with the development team and a couple of the other players. But yeah, Legends is going into layout early this week, while I'm actually still working on tagging the text on this other project. So I'm going to be locked in this office for the week, basically, in a nutshell. Damn. We've also made a very last minute decision. If you are one of the backers for High Plains Samurai, or just a fan and everything in general, we've made a decision on actually changing the name of one of the 5 cities from Hunan, and we're going to be changing it to something that is a little bit more of a Western name, because that city in particular always had a bit of a Western feel. And initially, I thought I just made up the name Hunan. It was like, well, that kind of sounds, like a good name, and let's go with that. It has actually come to my attention, #geography_fail, that Hunan is actually a real place in China. And one of the things that we started talking about was, do we want to have something that has that kind of direct similarity to the real world? And in doing so, does that give the wrong impression on what the city is like and what it's about? So it was one of the things I thought, no, you know what, the name is not right. There's something about it that's wrong. There was another person who a few months back, actually during the Kickstarter, who, was trying to bring this to my attention, but at the same time too, it was done in a way that I couldn't understand what the issue was. So, we've kind of looked into things a little bit more, and I think that this is the reason why. The whole idea of inferring kind of like the name of a Chinese city when you have samurai, which are very Japanese, and they are two completely different things. And that just kind of looks like really ignorant appropriation as well. It was just starting to be one of those things where there were numerous signs that the name Hunan was not right, was not appropriate, was not what I was going for. So we have changed it to, drumroll please, Serenity Falls. I wanted a name of something because this city used to be this pristine, luxurious port city that was right by the ocean. And it was the go-to place. It was the richest city in all of the One Land before chaos struck. And I wanted a name that worked when it was this great, luxurious place. And then is incredibly ironic now that it has become a complete and total shithole. And the idea of using the name Serenity, which is, yes, a lean towards Firefly, it fits. And there's something about it that it's much more appropriate. And it's also, I think, showcasing a little bit more of kind of like the diverse approach that I want to have with High Plains Samurai, where everything seemed a little too Eastern at first. And now I'm trying to bring in some more Western influences, and that's one of the things that's been added. One of the main things that we've done in addition to playing and tweaking with the rules is also just taking some of the feedback and looking at the people who have backed it and making some modifications to say, no, we weren't trying to do this. We're trying to do this. So this is one of the main things I'm hoping is going to help. So yeah, that's one of the things that we're working on this week. I still have some tweaking that I want to do on the duel. So that's, anyone who may have seen, I did a cover preview a couple of weeks ago. That's going to be a short mini game. I'm working on a series of kind of quarterly releases called Fragments that are basically just like 2-player, quick and simple one-shot kind of games. And the duel is going to be one of them. It's actually a game that uses fate dice to, it's like a story game, one-on-one combat. And I'm not going to get into too much more details because I'm still trying to work out some of the mechanics on how you actually build the arena and tweaking all that kind of stuff. Something's not quite there. It's good. It's like 90%. But I want to tweak that next 10% if I had the time to work on it. So yeah, there's that. I've also just, so everybody knows, there will be a new episode of Ottawa Game Publishers podcast that should be coming out sometime later on this week. It actually talks about universal systems and whether or not they actually exist and whether or not they are as universal as we believe them to be. It was a really interesting discussion that we had this year. Fraser wasn't able to join us for these next 3 episodes. Just scheduling and everything else just wasn't able to work itself out. But yeah, so hopefully later on this week that's going to drop. And yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff that I can talk about, but I think I rambled on long enough. I think I've got enough on my plate to keep myself going. So yeah, I'm going to try and keep this up every Monday. Well, next Monday is Christmas Day, actually, and we celebrate Xmas, or what we call Coke Christmas. No, it's not cocaine. It's, wow, that was incredibly stupid. It's, anyways, we're not religious. We just basically, we do the whole presents and visiting family and all this other kind of thing. So, anyways, yeah, that's what's going on. That's what the hell is going on. So thank you for listening to me ramble, and stay frosty.